Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back another video from Clyde. Been a while, but we've got a JJK related video, which is cool. Why Gojo could have beaten Sukuna? Seriously. Um, so yeah, what a fight! What a moment this was. This was pretty damn freaking epic. I think narratively wise, the end result had to be the way it was. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's see what Clyde has to say on this whole Gojo versus Sukuna thing.
Since the very start of Jujutsu Kaisen, two major narratives have been conveyed to us viewers as the predominant focus of the story. How Yuji will handle being cursed with helping those who only he can help, and the inevitable showdown with Sukuna, be it Yuji or Gojo, taking care of this. The development of the aforementioned first point is showcased very well, and there are multiple differentiating statements from interchangeable periods of time in regards to the respective strengths of Gojo and Sukuna for the second point, to outright claims one will beat the other.
Nah, I'd win. Yeah, that became a meme.
With the famous phrase,
there we go. Yeah, there we go.
nah, I'd win, essentially being repeated twice by Gojo, along with multiple times where Gojo is described as the strongest, even though Sukuna had already become present in the story. Spoiler warning.
Yeah, but Sukuna wasn't, like, at max. He's still not at max, is he?
3, 2, 1. We all know what does eventually happen
Oh!
with the battle.
Yeah.
However, as most readers also know, this battle wasn't just as cut and dry as A defeated B because B was weaker than A.
Yeah, this was one hell of a fight, man.
So what if this
Oh, mate, when this gets animated, it's gonna be freaking boss.
situation was tweaked a bit? What if we dive a little deeper into the technicality of why a certain Ryomen Sukuna did actually win? Today, I'm joined by Gojo himself thanks to Doppel AI, which I'll be using to help me with this scaling video. Doppel AI is a website where you can actually speak to your favorite anime characters, ask them questions, and even get to know them. Also to add, Doppel AI even has characters from series that are non-anime, like Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil, Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, and even Soldier Boy from, well, The Boys. With the help of Gojo, I'll actually be extensively breaking down just how he could have technically beaten Sukuna in this bout of fisticuffs, and why it's quite a conundrum when looking
This is a very bizarre thing to do, but okay.
further into it. I think most of us would agree that the way Gojo speaks about the
So that's Doppel. I've seen Doppel used in another title somewhere, right?
outcome of his battle with Sukuna was quite suspect at the time of the chapter's releases, and felt almost entirely out of character. The abruptness of it after a chapter which seemed to be the complete opposite was a genuine shocker. So let's start off by asking Gojo a question, and then I'm going to dive into the scaling straight afterwards.
This is
to
weird,
follow
okay.
up. Hey, I'm Gojo. Hey Gojo. Yeah, how have you been? Not bad, thank you for asking, how are you? I'm doing good, keeping busy with training and stuff. I've got a question. Do you believe that you could have beaten Sukuna had he not had the Maharaga?
Oh, no, that's a good one, because I think Maharaga definitely does tip the scales. Like, what a beast that is.
Oh, absolutely. But my method would have been different. I'd have used my limitless curse technique to control the space around him, limiting his movement and power. Interesting. Do you think it would have been hard for him to keep up with you, knowing he couldn't use Maharaga to adapt to your techniques? Of course, he would have a hard time with it, but Sukuna is a very powerful sorcerer, and also quite intelligent, so it wouldn't be an easy fight.
This is so strange that he's, like, asking an AI questions to help scale this, but alright.
How would you have finished Sukuna if you had killed Maharaga with your first blow towards it? Well, I'd have to use my domain expansion to wrap him up in endless curse energy, and then use my limitless curse technique to control the space around him, effectively trapping him in a pocket dimension
Okay.
until he's completely drained of power, or until I decide to end the fight. Interestingly, Gojo might actually be correct here, as Gege Akutami, author of Jujutsu Kaisen, has countless times made matter-of-fact statements or displayed definitive feats from characters, then retcon them. The example I'd follow up with here is that Gojo, after battling Sukuna, concedes to Sukuna's power. There's about 3 different statements made where he essentially
Yeah, I'm sure Six mentioned that in a video as well, the whole bullet thing, being able to catch the bullet, but then the speed of him, yeah.
claims that he never stood a chance and thought Sukuna had the upper hand the entire time. Surviving the 200% hollow purple and making Gojo feel a bit odd throughout their fight are two pieces of evidence for this potentially being real. However, it seems rather obvious that Sukuna, upon seeing Megumi's 10 Shadows technique, that he believed gaining this would be incredibly useful in the future.
Well, yeah, he's been very, very, like, since the beginning, he's made it apparent that Megami is important to him.
And this would be proven true due to its effectiveness in the biggest battle of the series, Sukuna vs Gojo. It's pretty clear based on both Kenjaku and himself that Gojo was a massive obstacle, preventing any of the bad guys from running wild. Thus, makes me believe he kept that in mind as a perfect counterplay to Gojo. Was it only for Gojo? Not necessarily, but it was the perfect ace in the hole for him, and this was showcased. Narratively speaking, when us readers also learned that the Maharaga had defeated a previous Six Eyes user many years ago, it was quite obvious where and how it could be eventually implemented in battle. Just remember, his battle plans revolve solely around the process of the Maharaga adapting to Gojo's abilities. Did we know for certain they would fight, or Gojo would escape the prison realm? No, but it was definitely expected. It all lines up in what appears to be a planned narrative. Upon Sukuna taking Megumi's body, this did seem to become a guarantee.
What a way that happened as well. It was so cool. I did not see it happening, but it did, and I was just like, wow! It just sliced off his finger, and he's like, ah!
Though, as Gojo and Yuji were absolutely going to do something about this, if they could. Ryomen Sukuna has always been regarded as the strongest in history, but against Gojo there was some obvious contention. Gojo's abilities almost make him immortal against many other series, and is that way within his
You can't get near him. It's like, what?
own. Instantaneous movement across short and massive distances, a barrier which slows and blocks all incoming attacks infinitely and beyond, a domain expansion which will land no matter what, with an effect that EMPs your brain with infinite information, a mere
Which is crazy. Just like, wow. It's like for 0.2 seconds or something he had activated, and they were all in a coma for like 6 months.
A normal human within the series would die from just over 0.2 seconds of this being used, and even then, that had devastating effects when it did happen in Chapter 89. And he can also fly, while spamming attacks that can reduce you to
Wish I could fly.
an imaginary negative number value, thus essentially removing you from existence, or at the very least just negging you entirely if it lands.
Gone.
Sukuna, on the other hand, realistically relies heavily on his Malevolent Shrine and Fuga, with some blood manipulation techniques being used here and there. Don't get me wrong, these techniques by themselves are absolutely insane in regards to power, but any character with Gojo's linear arsenal is a problem. Throughout both battles with Gojo, it was quite evident that Gojo had the speed and hand-to-hand combat advantage numerous times. Sukuna also didn't exactly fight Gojo one-on-one either. Their battle was like a game of chess where they were having domain clashes and feeling each other out for the most part. Gojo even notes that merged beast Agito was so weak in comparison to himself and the others that he just one-shots it, which Sukuna was using to battle Gojo, thinking this likely wouldn't be its quick fate. I've seen some arguments made that because of the domains being used so much, this had an effect on Sukuna's ability to wield normal curse techniques. And it seems as though a Fuga arrow could be shot during these sequences if he wasn't seemingly sandbagging. For me personally, I'd have an issue with that because Fuga seems to take some time to activate, or at least as far as we're concerned right now. And Sukuna was also using the 10 Shadows a fair bit, while passively concealing Maharaga to adapt, which complicates this further. There's a chance he might not be able to use it at all. I'm quite curious to see how you guys in the comments feel about that though. This could just be the case that during their first showings, they were shown off in a cool way for dramatic effect, and can actually be shot much faster. Or is he even able to use it at all during these particular moments of switching between techniques, as adaptation seems very blatantly to be in the way. However, before we proceed, let's see what Toji thinks of this. He actually fought Gojo and died, so he would have an idea of how annoying battling Gojo actually is. Toji points his inverted spear of heaven to your throat. What you want, sorcerer?
Amazing. This is so interesting.
What's up, Toji? Looks at you with suspicious eyes. Who are you? I'm just here to ask you a question. That is all. Narrows his eyes. What kind of sorcerer are you? I'm not a sorcerer. I'm a YouTuber. Lowers his spear and looks at you with interest. What kind of videos do you make? Anime-related videos. I'm currently making one about Gojo. Smirks. I see. You are just a normal human then. Sheaths his spear. What's your name? Correct. My name is Clyde. Nods. Clyde it is. Tell me more about this Gojo video. Looks at you. You are a sorcerer, aren't you? I am curious. Do you believe Gojo could have beaten Sukuna if he did not have the Maharaga assisting him? Narrows his eyes. How would I know? I was not there when it happened. Grins. But I do have a theory.
Interesting.
Smirks. Please explain your theory. Laughs. I reckon Gojo did not win, but Sukuna ran out of time. Smirks again. Explain more. Looks at you. He would have eventually defeated Gojo, but those damn cursed spirits interfered. Nods. That's my theory. Looks at you. And what do I get for helping you? Looks at you. And when do we leave? I'll pay you if you answer more clearly. Could Gojo have beaten Sukuna if Sukuna didn't have the help of Maharaga, which adapted to Gojo's abilities? Laughs. Nod. Yes, I'll tell you. I reckon Gojo would have adapted to and found a way to defeat Sukuna. But yeah, that cursed spirit interfered again. Well, technically it's a Shikigami. Raises an eyebrow, smirks. You know what I mean. That damn cursed spirit. Frowns. Yeah, it's annoying. What do you know about Maharaga? Looks at you. Yeah, I know some about it. Smirks. That cursed spirit let it merge with Sukuna, thinking it could control him. But Gojo adapted. And the rest is history. Laughs. You're capping so hard right now. Are you salty that Gojo killed you? Looks at you. Eyes wide. What? Laughs. Looks away. Yeah, I was. But I'm over it now. Nods. Let's go. So, although Toji seems to not be playing ball with me here and is up to a bit of tomfoolery, there is in actuality a sliver of truth here. Throughout the battle with Gojo, Sukuna was risking being killed multiple times to allow Maharaga to adapt to Gojo's curse techniques. His entire win con revolves around being able to bypass Infinite Void. Or, he is truly fucked in the battle if he gets hit by it multiple times. Those who deny Gojo's potential to beat Sukuna also need to realize that if he was by himself, Gojo has more opportunities to fatally wound and continuously spam hit Sukuna. For example, at the end of Chapter 235 and the start of Chapter 236, if Maharaga hadn't given Sukuna the 2-minute YouTube tutorial on how to slash correctly through Gojo's limitless barrier, he walks over to Sukuna and bullies him however he wants, with the famous Gojo 1 panel being the end of the bout. Sukuna also, with his original Malevolent Shrine, couldn't surpass Gojo's reverse curse technique, even while spamming it at him, with the Maharaga later getting in the way to create openings for him in the close quarter scenarios. Just remember, Maharaga is so strong that during its fight with Sukuna, it ended up adapting to the very concept of cutting something.
Yeah, which was crazy. It just kept rebuilding itself. It's like, it can just adapt to pretty much anything. It's crazy. Maharaga's one hell of a summon.
Which led to Sukuna whipping out Fuga, otherwise he would have likely lost. A lot of people will be surprised to hear this from me, but the adaptation from the Maharaga might actually be more disgusting than the Hogyoku, unironically. Once more, the fact that Sukuna went so far indicates he needed to do so for it to be a win condition. Using Megami to take the impact of Infinite Void,
which was a dirty thing to do, man. That was so dirty.
Also adds validity
Letting
to
Megami
this, similar
take
to
some
the
of that.
Killer
Was like,
Bee snapping
whoa.
out of Genjutsu via the A-Tails interrupting the flow of chakra, with Sukuna highlighting that this specific aspect of Gojo's arsenal was the most tedious to deal with, thus helping Sukuna also learn how to evolve his inherent techniques to cut on a level that allows him to slash all things in the world, space, existence, and arguably the universe if you take the translation hyperliteral. There is an alternative argument that Sukuna could wield Fuga to one-shot Gojo while he's healing himself, however, it's not a 100% guarantee, but something to keep in mind. Also, because the Sukuna from this battle is far stronger than he was in Shibuya, the Fuga would naturally be a lot stronger. Gojo was so strong that by Maharaga adapting to him, it helped Sukuna acquire the strongest ability in the series. Unless you want to, hyper wank the Yuki black hole, which going by Sukuna's statement wouldn't scale to his slashes and its potential to cover a distance with damage, but people like to be a little bit weird when it comes to the black hole. I don't think that Kenjaku would perform better against the black hole than Sukuna would, that's my personal opinion. Gojo could likely do the same thing, so yeah, you do the math. Sukuna was then pressured so much by Gojo that he then, when facing Kashimo in his mythical beast Amber form, which can manifest phenomena itself from his cursed energy, had to replenish his full body by transforming into his original multi-arm form. Keep in mind, Sukuna can only do this once, as it's not actually a technique, it's just a convenient opportunity based on the circumstances of attaining his old body prior to this. There's actually an earlier page which verbatim states that for the first time in a millennium, Sukuna feels uneasy towards Gojo, even after witnessing the Maharaga wield the space-cutting slash that can cut through Gojo at any time it lands. Remember, Sukuna has these inner feelings while knowing he's either learnt that same slash or is on the verge of doing such. Adding to this, without Maharaga, it makes you wonder if his reaction would have been even more uneasy, if not just outright scared. He's also having these feelings with the complete knowledge that he can transform into his old body too, so keep that in mind. The moment Gojo also pierces Sukuna's body is interesting too, because had he aimed for the head, he'd likely have just ended the bout right there.
Yeah, why did... Narrative.
It's very possible that Gojo even held back here because he desired a true bout to the death with Sukuna. However, that's just my personal headcanon, especially based on the way Gojo talks.
That is also a valid point as well. It's Megami, isn't it, as well? He's fighting technically as well. So yeah, that is also something to keep in mind.
During his post-death scenes. In conclusion to this section, Gojo actually had the tools to win, but was battling against 3 to 4 individuals at the same time, with Sukuna even thanking Gojo for helping him evolve his technique. He then states he will always remember Gojo. Current Sukuna seems to be undoubtedly stronger than he was. However, if you approach the initial fight differently, Gojo could have actually won, with even Kenjaku being utterly terrified of his potential, and realizes if Sukuna isn't around, Gojo would likely just teleport over to him and murder him. One of Kenjaku's initial plans was to potentially befriend Sukuna, so he either had doubts this was possible, or he still believed Gojo could stop them all, even with Sukuna on his side. However, that argument is very up in the air, because it could be taking into account weaker variations of Sukuna. If you look at these 2 pages here, had Gojo actually just activated Infinite Void, Sukuna would have been absolutely fucked, because Maharaga hadn't adapted at all yet.
Yeah, that's
Sukuna
true.
would be under the burden of needing to use Reverse Curse technique, so if Gojo had taken an aggressive start, he could potentially dust him straight away. A potential domain clash here from Sukuna may help him avoid a lot of that damage though, so keep that in mind. While Sukuna heals his hand, he uses Infinite Void, Maharaga hasn't adapted, so Sukuna can't get saved, and he wins. Sukuna could arguably use Megami to avoid it, but this isn't a guarantee, and he'd still be armless, meaning he'd be at a disadvantage. In the actual fight itself, Gojo's best bet is using Hollow Purple at any point before when he did during the round 2, because Maharaga also hadn't used the Space Slash, and we know it's a guaranteed one-shot on Maharaga with chance included. Though he theoretically can win round 1 had he used Hollow Purple with Infinite Void, before the 4th clash with Maharaga, when Maharaga had fully adapted. Because Sukuna would have to heal, Gojo can theoretically teleport out of the way of the blast, teleport back, and use Infinite Void. Generally, Gojo benefits heavily by not playing into the domain clashes, as the Maharaga wheel isn't attached to Sukuna, but Megami and Sukuna would have to change between the 2 of them if Gojo isn't clashing with him, at which point Gojo can Infinite Void freely, as Sukuna would have to take on the burden of adaptation himself, leading to his loss whenever Gojo is 0.01 seconds faster. And in round 2, like I said, if he lands a Hollow Purple at any point, it's practically won. For example, before Gojo landed the Black Flash, rather than fire 8 blues, he could fire a blue then red, or just freely charge Hollow Purple, as Sukuna has 0 counterplay if Gojo is outside melee range, or outside the normal range of Malevolent Shrine. There is also the realistic outcome that if Gojo blitzes Sukuna's domain in 0.01 seconds like he actually did in the real showcase of the battle, that he wins right there and beheads Sukuna or destroys his insides, Hollow Purple, etc, etc. It also appears that the only reason Maharaga even appeared during the Infinite Void hit was because Sukuna actually summoned him via the words he was thinking, which was always quite confusing when reading. He should have been mentally stunned at this specific point. Though headcanon, it seems as if he may have done something after battling Yorozu where he can have Maharaga automatically appear when he needs it to.
Right, yeah, like an automatic summon.
It's possible too, and very likely, that Maharaga has a level of sentience where it just knows
when it's needed. Alright, yeah.
Maybe there was some kind of binding vow going on.
Maybe.
It's hard to pinpoint exactly, but we do know for certain that Sukuna can communicate with it to some degree, and it was intelligent enough to evaluate its own actions
understand it,
if it could be successful in combat or not. What I also just said could be argued via how the Maharaga acted by ignoring Sukuna's command, or how it was clearly not just a mindless monster in Shibuya, I'm not speaking purely about the adaptation. I mean it had some level of battle IQ. Also, as shown with other Shikigami, Megami's dogs have been shown to act in a similar way.
Yeah.
I'd also like to reference some
That's
points
true.
that Six gave
Oh, here we go.
me when we were briefly discussing this in direct
Six is the
message.
man.
Sukuna seems to have no actual way to bypass infinity. The idea Sukuna only wanted to evolve his curse technique in the fight is also completely made up. Sukuna spends all of round 1 trying to get rid of Infinite Void with Maharaga, because in his own words, it would be difficult to handle.
Right.
He even implies it was making the fight easier when Gojo talks about how hard Sukuna is fighting. Sukuna mentions how he's not fighting as hard as Gojo, who is frying his own brain. After the domain clashes, Sukuna literally just gets bullied. There are multiple points where Sukuna interrupts Maharaga's adaptation, his supposed #1 goal, using domain amplification in order to lessen the impact of Gojo's attacks. A great one is in chapter 232, when Sukuna uses domain amplification to lessen the impact of red, but it still singes the fuck out of his
It
face before
still
it even
burns him,
explodes.
man, yeah.
Gojo also mentions how Sukuna was only using Malevolent Shrine and not the 10 Shadows during their domain clashes, which was the more risky option, but that's not true. Sukuna was using 10 Shadows the whole time, or rather having Megami use it, but Sukuna can't both use 10 Shadows and have Megami adapt to Infinite Void. This last point has to do with Sukuna's final slash and how it hit Gojo. I personally believe Sukuna made a binding vow to get rid of the 10 Shadows in order to pull it off the first time, because he didn't have both of his hands to do the hand signs for it, like we see he has to when he uses it. All in all though, this battle is probably one of the most intense and hype things I've seen discussed amongst the Weekly Shonen Jump fandom since Madara appeared in the fourth Great Ninja War. The way I described it a while ago was like this. Jujutsu Kaisen is the best shonen manga to release since the Big Three. I've never enjoyed a weekly series this much in almost an entire decade. The hype for this fight has been the same kind of energy I felt from the UFC and boxing when a big bout is taking place. That's genuinely how it felt to sit here as a fan and see everyone's reaction to each chapter week by week as these two were fighting in the manga.
Well, for me, I was saying to my mate Steve the other day, it takes up an anime really has to be fucking amazing for me to then, when the season ends, for me to pick up the manga and carry on. Because usually I'll just be like, right, I'm watching the anime, I'll wait till the next season comes out. I just could not do that with Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. I just could not do that. I had to know what happens next, and I'm completely up to date. It takes a lot to do that.
Hello, entering the world of the living again stirs up quite the emotions. So, what brings you over to talk with me, Rukia Kuchiki of the 13th Division? Hey Rukia, before I end off this YouTube video that I am currently making for my channel, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Oh, what is it that you seek to know about me? Do you think everyone watching should subscribe to my channel and click thumbs up on the video? Well, my duties as a Soul Reaper keep me from endorsing any one individual's channel. However, if you truly believe in the message and content you're sharing, then by all means, my friend. Thank you for your time, Rukia. No problem, Chappa fans get me. Besides, I've got to get back to my duties in the Soul Society. May your endeavors be filled with courage and determination, like that of a Soul Reaper. You heard it here first. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and kindly please stick around for the outro because there's more I'm going to talk about in regards to this subject.
Okay.
Before this video ends, I just want to let you all know that I've got a few new videos in the works.
Nice.
Some of them are Jujutsu Kaisen related, and the others being Bleach and Bleach versus Naruto specifically. I'd like to give a big thank you to Doppel AI for partnering with me on this video. Just to let you all know a little bit about Doppel AI before I get to the next part of the video. It's actually free, and it's also available in the App Store and Google Play Store. They have a Discord server which will be linked below, along with a link to try Doppel AI yourself. They sometimes even do cool giveaways there, so keep an eye on the Discord server.
Amazing.
If you're into roleplay stuff, they've also got you covered when it comes to that. They've also got Doppel Unfiltered, and Doppel Creation is now live on the direct website. There's also the potential that Doppel AI might even make a Clyde Doppel, so make sure to go show them some love for supporting my content. Clicking their website and actually trying out Doppel helps me a lot, so please support them. Huge shout out to Doppel AI.
Cool.
With that being said, I want to end the video with a question for you knowledgeable Jujutsu Kaisen scalers. Do you think the fight's outcome is different, the same, or even a whole other scenario if we keep things how it was, but if Sukuna just casually decides to switch back into his original body?
Ooh.
It is also interesting to consider that if you plug a controller into the back of Gojo's head, he could realistically teleport outside the range of Malevolent Shrine and spam projectiles or potentially keep distance every time the domain is activated in general, so Sukuna burns through cursed energy, thus nerfing Sukuna from healing and using curse technique in general. As shown with the Black Flash situation, it's highly likely that Sukuna dies right there because Mahoraga saves him twice in these near-death situations. Black Flash, unlike Infinite Void, can't be tanked by Megami as a substitute, rendering Sukuna immobile, as it did in the actual manga. It seems as though Sukuna's best bet is to win the domain clashes and try his best to avoid having a situation where Gojo blitzes his domain like what happened in the real fight. With the removal of Mahoraga, the only defense Sukuna really has from Infinite Void when within Gojo's domain would be to use domain amplification. This could do the following. A. Protect Sukuna from Infinite Void on various occasions. B. This would function in a similar manner to Gojo's simple domains in the first clash, and would stall Gojo. However, it would eventually be overwhelmed, leading to Sukuna being hit. At least, that's the likely outcome, because Infinite Void is pretty likely going to inevitably land. And C. Domain amplification may also assist against red, blue, and other techniques if needed. The original body of Sukuna might also make the hand-to-hand combat a little different. However, again, Gojo can just teleport far away, as shown with the casual long-distance teleportation he displayed during the Jogo fight at the start of the series. He could also shoot Sukuna with his reds and blues, which was showcased to be a pain in the ass for Sukuna. Though this may appear super convenient for the argument and, quote, out of character, in actuality, he did this when fighting Toji. It's also funny looking back at this fight because up until Gojo actually dies, people were clowning the fuck out of Sukuna all over social media for performing how they perceived as bad, which adds further emphasis on the death feeling rather abrupt, as I stated earlier in the video. That being said, following the canon intended narrative of the story, Gojo seemed pretty content dying to someone stronger than him, which follows his original philosophy from the Hidden Inventory arc, and unlike almost every sorcerer in the story, he died without regrets. One interesting note to end the video with, Sukuna and Kashimo both showcase weird bodily evolutions with their techniques, quite similar to how Bankais evolve over many years of use in Bleach. And now here's something to consider further with that. Sukuna's 3 processes of his curse techniques, which we're aware of so far, are Cleave, Dismantle, and Fuga, with Malevolent Shrine even being mistranslated to Malevolent Kitchen. Sukuna even uses very patronizing language towards Gojo, referring to him as a fish that's just flopping around, further correlating to this odd cooking and eating dynamic going on with his character. Sukuna states to Kashimo that every person has a unique and fleeting taste. It's quite likely we will see a much greater version of his technique, potentially being his completed shrine. Cleave them, dismantle them, and cook them with Fuga. Judging by the most recent Chapter 2, the statements by Gege, and other people who work with Gege, Yuta and Rika might potentially get eaten, as Sukuna's been hinting at doing for quite some time now. Let me know below what you guys think. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Take care.
Right, cool video. That's boss. The whole AI thing was a bit odd, but like a nice different approach to it, I guess. It's cool. I'm glad Clyde's back. I love cross versus battles. You know, it's always really cool. It's what I'm trying to establish. I think I've already established already, but like obviously there's certain exceptions to it when it comes to cross versus. Like, so I was wanting to know where JJK stands within versus other shonen stuff, and I think I'm starting to understand that JJK is not as strong as the Naruto verse. And then I think I'm going to learn as well that like then it's if that's the case, the Bleach verse is stronger than the Naruto verse. But then it's like there's always certain exceptions to that within the verses. So it's always fun though. I love it. It's great. Cool video. That was awesome. Thank you to my patrons. If you want to name it, I don't know what I was trying to get at there, but just I'm enjoying getting back into these versus videos is basically all I'm saying. Jujutsu Kaisen has brought a new freshness to it. for me. But anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, link is in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month gets your name at the end of every video, and patron-only reactions, which I think is like once a week at the most at the moment. But yeah, what do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe, and leave comments below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. I'll see you guys next time.